The name raindrop wasn't given by Chopin. Nevertheless, it does make sense when we hear the repeating tones in the left hand, as they remind of the raindrops. If you need the scores, you can find it in the description with my fingerings included. Let's take a look at the first phrase. I will start with the right hand. In the first 4 bars, we have the main melody. Search for a mellow and warm sound from the beginning. Let's gradually develop the phrase towards the highest point, which is G flat in the 3rd bar, and then let's finish it softly. The first beats are the significant points, and the quarter notes on the 4th beats are the steps that bring us to those points. Here let's develop a little more, and let's finish it softly. Another step. Make sure to play legato and connect the notes with care. Although the pedal will help to achieve that, try doing it with fingers for the best result. Now let's take a look at the left hand. In a way, it is more challenging compared to right hand because there are 2 characters we are supposed to present: the repeating tones and the melodic line. It is crucial to keep raindrops softer and consistent while highlighting the melodic line. I have a small tip here. Try leaning a little bit to the left. It will help you to control the repeating tones more comfortably. Also, make sure to play slightly more the upper tones when playing the double notes, which will add transparency to the texture. When you feel comfortable with separate hands, give it a try and play with both hands. One could say the left hand represents the raindrops, though the right hand is nothing but sunshine for me. Let's move on to the next phrase. Here, Chopin signals the development in the story from very early on. I like to start this touching melody with a small crescendo from the beginning and bring towards G flat, which is the highest tone in this section. It gets colder. At this point, I want to press the keys as deep as I can, almost like crawling. That helps me to increase the intensity in sound and creates the tragic character which I'm searching for. Now I want less intensity. Perhaps the character I am imagining is slowly giving up. And here I will fade out, like there is no hope. Even when the melodies are repeated one to one, we can create an entirely different story by changing the dynamics or the intensity, which is truly special about Chopin's music for me. Let's play the whole section with the right hand. Let's take a look at the left hand. Here, I want to play with corresponding phrasing and dynamics to help the right hand's melody. Nevertheless, we need to keep it softer than the right hand and keep the upper tone a little brighter when playing the double notes or the chords. Let's put them together. In the next section, Chopin repeats the two phrases with small modifications. Here, I would suggest decreasing the intensity of sound, as it is sort of a bridge to the middle part. I will directly show it with both hands, but you can apply the same practice I explained in the first section. Let's keep the left hand softer and gradually fade out with both hands at the end. Let's move on to the middle part. The general character I want to present here has nothing to do with the sunshine anymore. Perhaps the storm clouds are appearing abruptly, and you can feel it will most likely follow with thunderstruck. Let's start with the left hand. Make sure to connect the double notes carefully and slightly expose the upper tone. There is a gradual crescendo in the left hand with the duration of 3 bars. With that being said, I have an additional suggestion. To make it sound more melodic, I like to draw an imaginary line as how the upper layer moves, and make small dynamic changes depending on that line. Regardless of these dynamic changes, I will also make sure to play every bar a little more powerful, each motif one step higher. In that way, I won't take anything away from the written crescendo, and make it sound way richer in color and dynamics. If you find it too difficult, you can also simply play with a crescendo, but I recommend trying it for some time, as the reward is worth it. As we keep building up this section, I want you to include the middle tones in the right hand to this process. Simply because they are extensions of the left hand's melody, and they need to be played with the right hand only for the practical reasons. By the way, make sure to use the actual fingerings while adding these tones, otherwise it won't be as beneficial. Alright, let's move on to the right hand. Here we don't have any melodic element. The only task we have is to start very softly, as Chopin describes it as sotto voce, whispering. And after that, build it up very gradually towards the fortissimo. I'm afraid it is not as easy as it sounds, because I've often heard students overuse their power and end up playing fortissimo already in the third or the fourth bar. To control the sound better, keep your arm and wrist super relaxed, and stay close to the key with your finger. For now, let's leave out the middle layer and just focus on the gradual crescendo. After you get comfortable with this, you can add the middle layer. The reason I recommend working on them separately is that they should not interfere with each other, as they have different roles despite being played with the same hand. Let's play from the octaves. Now I am going to play with both hands. Before you try that, please give enough time to work with hands separate. This is a difficult section and it might not work overnight. After you have mastered the hands separately, it is such a joy to put them together. As this section is repeated identically, I will move on to the next one. Let's go with the right hand first. As you see, there are two layers: melodic octaves, chords, and the raindrops. Let's first play the melody. Try to expose the upper tone for transparency. For phrasing, remember the imaginary line? Now the middle layer, simply soft. Let's put both layers together. Nothing much to say about the left hand, but listen to its melodic line. Make sure to connect those under the slurs and take into account the accents. I think this section is the moment that you don't care about your clothes getting wet. Just give up and feel the drops. Let's put them together. In the next phrase, which starts quite similarly to the previous one, I want to build up towards the fourth bar and gradually fade out, as at the end of it, sunshine seems to reappear. You can practice this section with hands separately or voice by voice. Here, the first phrase appears for one last time. Perhaps it would be interesting to play it a little freer, as it has appeared several times and has through the piece gained the wisdom, which allows it to be more unrestrained. Chopin puts it as smorzando, dying away. I will play it more gently compared to previous times and fade out simultaneously with slowing down. Next, a signal appears in forte and decreases to piano within 2 bars. This is a big contrast for such a short amount of time. To me, this passage represents the whole spectrum. Each tone is another color. Make sure to play each of them softer than the previous one and connect them carefully. In the coda, we have 4 layers. In this case, Chopin puts the melody in the bottom layer of the right hand. Let's first play only the melody. Now let's play the right hand with both layers. Try to expose the melody a little and keep the rest much softer. The left hand also has two layers. You could highlight any of them or simply play them similarly. I prefer to expose the upper layer a little bit. I like to close the story with the raindrops next to the melody. Alright guys, we have came through the piece. Now let's move on to pedaling. It is hard to generalize it as Chopin himself was very precise with it, and as you can often see that he specified the pedaling in the original editions. It's not a secret that he used to play on Pleyel pianos, which are constructed differently than today's modern pianos. Unless you own one of them, I believe you need to make adjustments on the pedaling, as the modern piano sounds quite differently. The simple rule I like to follow in this prelude is to change the right pedal with each harmonic change and do small adjustment depending on how the melody develops. Let's take the first melody, for example. If we take into account the harmonic changes, I would add the sustain pedal from the beginning, then change it on the first and the fourth beats in the second bar, followed by changing on first, second and fourth beats in the third bar, and finally in the first, third and the fourth beats in the fourth bar. Which is fine, and you could go for it. What I personally like to add to this, as I mentioned, are the adjustments depending on the melody, when I would like to have more transparency and less blurry color. Therefore, I will also change the pedal in the fourth beat of the first bar, the third beat of the second bar, and the second beat of the fourth bar. In addition to that, I will gradually let go of the pedal in the fourth beat of the fourth bar, which I believe adds delicacy to this small passage. This is my take on how to use the sustain pedal in this prelude. I hope it gives you an idea of how to search for what you like. Let's talk about timing. This is even more of a personal subject, as each individual would have a different feeling for this music. I will tell you how I structured the rubato here, and you can search for your way. This piece is made of several phrases. You know, when we speak, often we take a break or slow down a little bit between the phrases. For example, I like performing Chopin's music. The preludes are one of my favorites. As you've heard, there is a small gap between these two phrases. You probably wouldn't go like, I like performing Chopin's music, the preludes are one of my favorites. I want to implement the same principle when playing two phrases one after another. Let's take the first two phrases. I will slightly stretch the timing in between, which will help me to pronounce these phrases very clearly. Another important point about rubato. Let's take the third phrase. When I want to speed up a little bit to add some excitement to the melody, I want to pay off by stretching it right after, in order to make it sound more natural. Alright guys, I hope it gives you some idea on how to search for a way to tell your story. Now I will play the whole piece for you and try to tell mine. Let's go. Well, that was all for today. Let me know which piece you'd like to see a tutorial about in the comments. Please give a like if you enjoyed my video and subscribe for more tutorials in the future. See you in the next one.